Evening, everybody. Welcome to the November meeting of the Sydney City Bonsai Club. We've got a special meeting tonight with a really good presenter, Ingrid Bauer, who is a very experienced judge who's going to talk on judging bonsai. And so without further ado, let me introduce Ingrid to you.
So when viewing bonsai, the aim in judging is to narrow down the criteria on which judgment is formulated. And the most important thing is the bonsai's, to me, is the bonsai's first impression. The moment you look at the bonsai, the feeling, but because we all don't have the same taste, we need to understand the rules of design. Certain guidelines are essential in judged exhibitions, and judgment is the expression of impersonal criteria. One can't pinpoint a particular point, but when first viewing a tree, that is the first feeling a judge gets when they approach it and take it. One judging system is the point-based system, but that's not.
No, not in front of some of the trees, actually.
Not really in front of the tree, That's right.
So with the point-based system, so that's where not one tree is judged against the other, but how many points does this individual tree score? And there are various sheets that can be used. For instance, so let me start the one that I don't particularly like. So they've broken it up into aesthetic quality, right? So just visual look, trunk, branches, foliage, roots, soil container. Yes, all important, but the scoring is a little bit inappropriate for me. I much prefer this one where the visual impact gets 40%, the roots or the base, and it gets 20%, and I'll go into a little bit more detail why the roots and the base is so important. You've got the trunk, 15%, branch placement, 10%, 8% for a pot and 7% for secondary branches. I feel that's quite a fair breakup of the percentage. So if we go to the criteria that's required, so we've got design, harmony, visual balance within the tree, visual balance between the pot and the tree, the health of the tree, ramification and branch placement. So the general health and the well-being of the tree, because you'll be surprised what you do get at the show. Diseased trees, spider webs still all over the trees, dirty pots, the surface not prepared at all, lots of weeds. So, these things form all part of the picture. The trunk, was the front chosen? Was the correct front chosen? Right? Showing the trunk at its best. The trunk shape according to the style. Correct tapering. And is it in the correct style category? Because the trunks tell us what style category it's going to be in. That's the trunk placement plus foliage placement. Bark, does it show maturity? Is there plating on the bark? Is the bark clean? Moss cleaned off, spider webs, and other things. Even clean in cuts that have been made. Have they been done cleanly? Then branch positioning, ramification. Are the main branches correctly placed? Is there enough negative space in branches? not really fond of that term, but is there enough air between the branches? Does the form of the branches coincide with the style of the tree, as well as the trunk movement? And then finally, the apex, the end of the top of the trunk, is that well defined? So what are the most important factors? And we can certainly go through a few of those. That particular point is the surface roots, right? Or the nabari, the trunk base. Looking at the trunk base, that will give you the front of the tree, right? And surface roots will give you evidence of the tree really clasping the soil. Foliage, leaf, color, size. If you do have any deadwood effects on there, have they been well maintained, the gyms and the sharis? Surface dressing, use of moss, appropriateness of surface material, lack of weeds, and absence of pests and diseases. Your pot, appropriateness of the pot, the shape, the color, and the texture. And probably and one of the most important points is the position of the tree in the pot. Cleanliness and whether the tree is underpotted or overpotted. So the aesthetics, general impression, it is presented at the correct angle, showing that the balance of the tree is correct, and the overall sense of balance and harmony, and recognizing the elements that make the bonsai tree and the pot, that combination. So perfectly balanced trees are never found in nature. So a slightly imbalanced tree is really special, right? And it will look more interesting and natural. And this is what we would look for. I think we've all heard, don't make a tree look like a bonsai, but make a bonsai look like a tree. And that's a winning tree. So many, in now specifically the RAS rules and guidelines. So we have complete anonymity of who the owners of the trees are. So there's no previous look at paperwork. It's now actually done on a tablet. So there's no paperwork lying around. We have no idea who the trees belong to. And I think the job that your club does is absolutely amazing in organising, setting up, going to all that, all the effort of manning a desk. And Chris, has it been pretty hard to find helpers, or is that?
When we had 8 days,
Okay.
it was really, really difficult.
Yes.
Now we're down to 2 days,
Yes.
and a little cart.
Okay.
It's not so difficult.
Okay.
You only need a couple of people to cover that.
And you get some members from
Yeah,
that?
we have no trouble. That's why I haven't actually been over bugging people over your way, because
Right. Yeah, you
we just
manage,
don't need
yeah.
the numbers
Yeah, yeah.
anymore, because we've only got a little cart
Yes.
for 2 days.
Yeah. Well, we've always said if you ever do need help,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
need to shout. Yeah.
The offer is always there, because
Yeah.
I can just order more tickets, so you
Okay.
get a free ticket to the show.
Yeah, no, well,
Spend
it's
half a
certainly
day
something
with
we do ask at our club. And I think one of the worst things, the worst obstacle to overcome is the timing when you can bring your trees. I don't know what you guys feel who do hand in trees. It's awful, that arrangement. But there's nothing else that they can come up with. If you ever have an idea, just shout and we can present it. But it's the drop off, and it's even the collection. It is.
And sometimes the guards at the gate are really rude,
Ah.
or very short. Other
Okay.
times they can be very nice and
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. And you always have the correct paperwork or whatever you
Oh, you
need.
wouldn't get the certificate if you didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
In recent years, they've been much improved.
Right.
In the good old days, it
Okay.
wasn't so good. And because we're not bumping out on the last day, that's
Oh yes,
chaos.
it does. Yeah.
We're bumping out in the middle,
Yes.
we can get in and out pretty quick.
Yeah. So in about was about 2005, 2006, our club had a exhibition there, and that was for the full time, the 14 days. I mean, that was horrendous. Just in being there all day, finding rotation of people and keeping the trees in there then as well for the 14 days sometimes. Yeah, it was 14 days at that time. And I think we did that like for 3 years, and then we just said we just burnt out with that. It was just not possible anymore. So the show is going to be during next year. It's going to be during the school holidays, and it's probably most times the bonsai that the schedule hasn't come out yet. I don't think any exhibitors have already received any paperwork. Have you received it in January? Yeah, so they haven't quite set that. I know it's going to be a school holiday show, so and most often it's on Good Friday, isn't it? So the Friday and the Saturday.
Well, usually session 4.
Yeah. So it'll more than likely be. I think it's about the 19th of April. Then the 18th of April is Good Friday. What else did I need to say to you? So they are very open. The RAS are very open to any improvements or any requests we have, and we've been trying to, and I'm going to ask again this year, some type of separation for the categories, because there's no distinct line. That we thought perhaps just a piece of bamboo, but then they didn't like bamboo is not allowed. Bamboo is not a species that they want there. So even dead bamboo that has been varnished, they don't want those. So then we said, well, any type of barrier, any type of wood, and they're looking into that. So I think that you agree that might be a good thing. Yeah. Just for the public to see.
Yeah, it's also hard when they've got some up here and some down here, and you're not really quite sure what the classes are, but we manage pretty well.
But I think
and to make a point, it is luck of the draw where you get, but it is actually quite influential where you get your tree put. If you get it put in a good spot, a tree can really stand out.
You mean under a nice light?
Under a nice light, on a corner without any competition
Yeah.
around it, especially if it's a bigger type tree.
Yeah.
I've had them stuck in the back corner,
Yeah.
and it may well have not even been there.
Yeah, no, I take your point, and
No, that's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, but they really don't know
Well,
how
if you
many
get in early,
trees they're
shuffle
going to
them
get,
out.
so it's very much a last minute. And I think if on the setup, if there are more people, would that not move? Because you and one or two of you guys do the
No,
setup?
the RAS does the setup.
So how do they know where to put the trees? You've got a certain.
Well, I think it was last year, it was chaos because they put some younger person on it who'd never done it ever in her life.
Right.
She didn't have a clue where anything went.
Okay.
And it was a bit chaotic, I must admit. A few things got moved around.
Yeah.
But
Seems to
Ingrid,
be the
the
nature.
entries close a month before the exhibition, and every tree you enter has the measurements. So they have an idea what's coming and how much space.
Yeah.
But they don't allocate the space accordingly. They just plonk the things down. So if you've got a tree like this, which happens to be that tall, you might be given the space this way. It's just, this is the issue.
I think they look at the measurements first, just to see how many tables there are, and then just leave it up to
exactly.
So it is a.
And then you've got part of your class here and part of your class
Yes.
over
Yeah.
there. And
Yes.
it lacks a certain structure.
Yeah. And I mean, in the past we've had, there would have been perhaps 5 exhibitors. It improved this year. There were new exhibitors. You could see just by the new trees that were there. There were probably about 8 exhibitors. So, but then also if we clash with the Bonsai Open, which we did this year, that also restricted exhibitors, they prepare their trees and send the trees up to Gosford at the Bonsai Open and that was it. But this year I don't think we're near their date, so that is good.
The entries last year were down on the year before.
They were down, yes, they were absolutely, and the ones that were missing were the ones that were exhibiting at Bonsai Open. Yep. Do any of you also exhibit at Bonsai Open? Did you go up there to see that? Because yeah. I mean, their prize money. Well, I mean, another thing that's pathetic at the RS is the prize money. I mean, you know, if you compare it to, for instance, the Bonsai Open, that's some serious first prizes money, a few $1,000s. Yeah. So, but that's very new. But it's a good show to go up and see. Yeah.
If they were able to put signs up, you know, kind of just general criteria on
Yes,
what to look for and that.
Yeah.
But if they were to, I guess, list the different classes so that people can distinguish as well as, you know, I mean, having divided would be good as well. But to help people understand, this is over 30 centimeters, this is under 30 centimeters, this is, multiple fruit plantings, this is,
Do you mean for the public to be able
for the
to
public.
have a bit of
Yeah,
information?
because the public, when they come, it's educational for them. And in the past, when they've done that, that's been very, helpful in that we get all the questions, but you have to, people will look at them and, say, oh, I really love this one or whatever, but they're looking at it, one tree amongst all of them rather than.
Yeah, but then they're going to have more space putting up a little sign.
Well, that's it.
So these are all the things that come up with. This is the space. Yeah, they wanted. So another suggestion was more information on the individual tree.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why that was not such a good idea. Turned out to be.
Maybe it shouldn't be there before the judging, but after the judging, we get, being on a stand, you get people all the time come up and say, what's that tree? How old's this tree? Where did it come from? All that sort of stuff. And all you need is just a little note. Liquid amber, 5 years old, from cutting.
Yeah, you don't think you guys having a sheet with that information on is perhaps better than again, they're thinking of the clutter and of the if they printed out a sheet, a little sign like that, is it in the same font as what everything else is? So it's all,
If they could do it on an A4 sheet of paper, if it's there, people want it.
That's also, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Actually, that's a very good idea. Yeah. Yes, Rob?
I think, from my experience with the Royal Agricultural Society, what they want is maximum throughput of people with minimum disruption. So anything that allows
Horses,
people to keep moving,
Yeah.
maybe pick up information elsewhere,
that's
is far more desirable than having little tiny notices on each tree, which mean everybody does this, reads it,
Wait,
then moves on.
holds up. No, that's a point. Yeah.
If you give like a little folded card in front of each one, people can just take photos as they go along.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to hold it up.
They
Or a
really.
little tiny.
It's certainly something I'll suggest again, because we did say there was this at the meeting that did come up that absolutely species and so forth should be there. But we'll just do that again. We'll just keep on trying.
Can I just ask?
Yes.
The Royal Agricultural competition.
Yes.
How many judges are there?
For the bonsai.
For the bonsai, yes.
Well, there's one for that exhibitor, for that exhibition. Yeah,
Okay.
one for that. But then every year new judges
Oh, okay.
chosen. No,
Only
they
one
aren't.
judge at a time.
Yeah, only one judge at a time, and then there's a steward.
Is there an assistant judge too?
Well, that's a steward. Yeah.
Steward,
The steward. Yeah.
So that's just
But
to
they
make
have
sure.
no input. They just.
Yeah, but it's to make sure things are followed. Well, you know.
But again, the difficulty of
No,
finding
but she
a
was.
judge who will come and be there at 7 o'clock in the morning
Sorry.
is that's we've got some fantastic personalities in Bonsai, but it's just too much trouble. Yeah. I mean, especially coming from a bit further afield to try and get there. Yeah, that is a problem.
Ingrid, when it
Yes.
comes to actually judging, when you've got another judge next to you, what do you find typically the things you disagree with people on?
There's only one judge. And you don't.
Have you been, because I know the Bonsai Open has
Bonsai
two.
had 3. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless.
Well,
You
I don't
haven't-
think they change.
yeah.
Well, if they can get,
Yeah.
eventually
So
they
have you
can
had
get.
any shows where you've had other judges?
Yes, so the ones are open. There were 3 of us, and we did that on a point system, and we compared points at the end. So it's a lengthy process then. I mean, we started at 6 o'clock, and I was only coming home at 9 o'clock that night. So it's a long process. And that is the problem with the point system. But that was, I'm not so sure if they used that still, but the 3 of us got together, compared our points. If there was a big discrepancy, we discussed, yeah, and that worked fantastically well, yeah.
And is that discrepancy usually in the the overall field, or is it because things like root flare or whatnot are more binary, I guess?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know.
So that would have been more the field, yeah. But sometimes there were things that like branch placement. Sometimes, that is where we sometimes
Preferences come in.
preferences come up.
Yeah.
And in terms of the actual display, because I know you said like removing moss from trees, that's evading
The trunk,
That's
yeah,
not a trunk.
yeah.
But what about lichen on trunks?
Lichen is fabulous, yeah. Lichen is not harmful, yeah.
Okay. Now, the only reason I asked, I've got a tree that's got a bunch of lichen. and
Yeah.
a few snowballs.
Yes, no, I agree, me too,
If it
yeah.
ain't just a tree,
Yeah, I like lichen on there, yeah. I mean, that's a great thing to have, yeah, yeah. And unusual, not everybody has lichen,
Yeah.
which is what we're looking, for then as well. Yeah. And I mean, when we come, when as a judge and you have 2 trees and you really can't decide what one is better than the other, then I probably would jump to the point system and just see what happens there. But you do come to an end result, and that's the main thing. But it has to be a bit speedy as well, because you're there before the public arrives. So unfortunately, you can't spend too much of a long time. But it's manageable because how many trees were there? About 100, I think.
less than that. It was 92
No.
the year before.
Yeah. So it certainly is manageable. Any questions? Yes, Robert.
I spoke to one of the judges at the Bonsai Schools exhibition at Rayneski's
Yes.
nursery, and he said to me, to be honest, he was surprised at the result, because when you're doing the judging, you're concentrating on each tree, each thing. That sheet goes to the back, you go and do the next one. If you've got 50 or 60 trees to get through, you can't dilly-dally. Then when he sat down and they added up their scores, he was surprised which tree had the highest score out of the ones that he'd scored.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that a point system does make the judges
Yes, focus on it.
each individual
Yeah.
aspect, not sort of think they're in, I like figs, I'll pick that one.
Yeah. I don't know if that it doesn't come into play with me that
I
there's a
wasn't suggesting
favourite.
it,
Yeah,
I
with a
suggested it
favourite
would.
species,
Yeah.
but I saw that show, and were you happy with the judging?
To be honest, I don't know enough to be happy with the judging. I know what I liked,
Yep.
and actually when I saw which trees won which prizes, oh yeah, I could see the logic in that.
Okay.
They did definitely look
Right.
like winning trees. I'll have to say that. I didn't see anything that I thought, oh, scratching my head, why
Why?
did that tree
Yeah.
come second and that one come first? I didn't see any of that.
Okay.
But then again, I don't know enough to know.
And sometimes all it takes is, gee, I really like that tree. Yeah, yeah. For the average person, and that's great. Yeah. So I'm not too happy about doing particular judging there of these things, but if we can just, not judging, not even critiquing, but if so, we're just talking general, right?
Before you get into that,
Yes.
I was just going to give people a bit of a chance if they have any questions. For instance, I feel there must be some controversy in bonsai judging from time to time. Some examples are that I think the Royal Easter Show exhibits probably have a wider range of professionalism in the trees than other competitions because it's an open competition. Anybody in the public can enter. So anybody who thinks that they have a bonsai can enter. So that must lead to some interesting aspects for judging. You would be aware that there has been correspondence in the past with people thinking that the judging is unfair and is out of date, and things like the same tree has won several years in a row, which is not true, but that's a perception.
Yes.
So there may be some of those controversies must be foremost in your mind when you do things like the RAS show.
Absolutely. So there's not a type of a vetting for exhibitors. I don't know if that would, that certainly would raise the standard. But I like the idea that it is open for anybody. So there's nothing there.
Can I point out
Yes.
that very often the trees that are attractive to the public aren't the trees that win the
Yeah, well, they all want big trees to win. They all want, and that's really, it's more difficult to as you know, it's more difficult to create a small tree, a good one.
That's why it's good at competitions like the Open. They had one category of judging which was most popular tree by the public.
Yep.
So the public don't know anything about this or that.
Yes,
But
yeah.
they just,
What
oh,
they-
we all like that one. And I think, who's the big guy up there? Andrew Ed said to me, he said, look, there was, it was about 70% or 60% of vote for this one particular exhibit that the public liked.
Yep.
But it didn't win a prize.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. That's exactly as you say. It's a different perception that the layman has. Yeah. John, but back to your statement. The advertising of the RAS, I think, is sadly lacking. They don't have any type of machinery that would, that goes around and highlights anything that they have there.
Unless you're a cattle exhibitor.
Well, yeah, exactly. So,
Whatever.
and I think they rely pretty much just on us trying to put out the word, but that's difficult. Yeah.
I've had them ring me up and say, we haven't got any competitors, go out there and get some competitors.
Find some,
yeah. That's what started it. That's how I started exhibiting, because I said we haven't got it.
Yeah. And if you think of what the RAS show in England, how prestige that is, it's very, very prestigious to enter trees into the show there. but we just don't have that type of a need. Yeah.
The comments from the people coming through are they like the bonsais.
They do love the bonsai. Absolutely.
They come back and they say,
Yeah.
we come here to look at the bonsai.
Yeah.
And we're one of the few consistent exhibitors.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
the other flower people are all dropping off.
Different. Yeah. Different. Yeah.
Looking at
Yeah.
it sparse and-
Yeah. Bromeliads and orchids and all that is not as doesn't have such a high regard as what the bonsai do.
I've had people express disappointment because I say things like, I'd like to bring my children back next week to see these
Yeah.
bonsais.
Yeah.
They won't be here.
Yeah. But with it being in the holidays, you're certainly going to have
Well,
a lot
that'd be
more
good for children. Yeah.
more children. Yeah. Robert?
So just a general question then
Yes.
about judging.
Yes.
Given the rapidly increasing interest in Australian natives as bonsai,
Yes.
and yet the fact that Australian natives, to develop the form of them, is completely different than than the
The
rigid
conventional
rules. How do
styling.
judges approach that? How do they? Because not all judges would be experienced in Australian native. All judges are probably well versed in the rigid rules of Japanese bonsai. So as a judge, if you've got a mixed exhibition and there's a couple of native trees in there, how do you, as a judge, approach that? Because the list, maybe not comparing apples with apples is what I'm trying to say.
But you can use 95% of this
Oh,
list to
okay.
apply it to a
So you
native.
still look for the
And
bari, the trunk,
if it's got that, yes.
Yeah, if
But
it's
if it
got-
doesn't have that, then you have to adjust. You have to make concessions. But I think there are so many natives that are now being tried and bonsai'd and so forth. So there's pretty much a good idea of what
Okay.
and we just need to look into nature and see what styling we have, and that's more upright, more sparse. So I think that's
Well,
covered.
excuse my ignorance, is there a state or a national body of judges where they can talk to each other, or conferences, or
No.
no?
Yes.
Oh yes.
No. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Or rather part of the Mercedes Club. When the Porsche Club have a show,
Yes.
they get someone from the Mercedes Club to come and judge the car.
Yes.
But to be able to judge, you've got to have done like a formal accreditation or formal
Yes.
training.
Yes.
Speaking from experience,
Okay,
right?
no, not me, my brother.
Oh, okay.
So, wouldn't it be nice if there was some sort of formal training that you could do?
Well, that would lead me to telling you a little bit about Dorothy Koroshoff. So she, as part of her courses, she had a judge's course, and I attended Max Blanco, who's one of your ex treasurers. Was he? Was he a treasurer? Yeah, he attended. Lee Wilson, Dennis Barton, Kim James, and that was about it. That went through her judge's course. Yeah, but that would have been in 2006, 2004,
It'd be nice to
2006.
get something,
Yeah.
and people could get trained formally.
Well, the RAS do have something like that, but that's on general judging. So nothing specific, just general judging, whether it's pumpkins or cattle or
Whatever.
sheep. Yeah. Yes, Ollie.
So when you're judging and you're looking at different species, so let's use like in the sheepy pine, for example, where typically grafted don't have you'll have that inverse taper quite a lot of blood. When you're judging, do you have to be quite, I guess, knowledgeable about the species and understanding those things before being critical? So like from a Japanese perspective, you go, oh, inverse taper, no way, but the sheepy pine sort of gets different.
Well, no, I know what you're saying, and I think it's important to assess the difficulty in a difficult treat in styling that. So there's a gruyere, which is a very difficult tree to get into a decent shape. So if you've got one that's you know, mature and it's developed, and it does get a lot of attention, because you know the difficulty in trying to get a good bonsai out of that. So you know, you've got that inverted taper, and next to it is a Japanese black pine, you know, that doesn't have that trunks all corrected. It is going to fall back. Yeah.
So you don't consider the species in the.
Or can you just speak up a little bit?
Sorry, you don't consider the species in that judgment. So like, I don't know, maybe in my head, if I was a judge and I was looking at, say, a fig, I would be very critical of its root fling, because to me it's easier to develop than say black pine.
But a fig is in its own category, so it's competing against figs. It's not.
But it's competing. You compete with size, not necessarily species.
No, but the exhibitors have to put figs in the figs category. Yeah, it's not in another category. Yeah.
Ingrid, you've been judging for some time. Have
Yes.
you noticed any trends in bonsai in the time that you've been bonsai? And if so, what sort of trends have you noticed?
I have noticed more natives coming through. Yeah, but in the last 4 years, which has been fantastic. Yeah.
Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't quite hear.
In about the last 4 years, a lot more natives coming through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we'll need to give it another, a few more years for mature natives to come through. Yeah. No, otherwise, a lot of figs get exhibited.
You mean at the RAS?
At the RAS, yeah. And no, I'd say there's not. It's remained constant, the type of tree that comes. It depends on the year, on the exhibitor. I mean, we have one exhibitor who would enter about 20 trees, but some of them are only that thin as a trunk, and it's just numbers that have been presented there, and you have to very diplomatically try and find a way to stop that the following year. So it is a bit of a constant. Will we get enough? Do we turn anyone away? So yeah, it's not a.
So it sort of raises the question that when
Yes.
the RAS are trying to encourage numbers,
Yes.
do you think it advisable or even possible to have minimum standards that they could apply?
Well, that's what I say. The vetting would be a good thing, but it's a bit too difficult to implement. Yeah.
I don't think you get too many real clunkers.
No, not really.
You know,
Yeah.
some
By now we
should
know.
be.
Yeah. By now we know the characters and yeah.
Most of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
But although there are no clunkers, I have to say in the past few years at RAS, there have been some unusual trees.
That's horrible.
Well, I just want to refer to the very last one here. So there was a first prize given to a species that had never been there before, and it just stood out. So yeah, and it won a prize. Yeah. So you just need, good variety, not necessarily lots of huge numbers. Yeah.
Do you have any observations about the future of the RAS bonsai competition? Because it seems to me, if I could make a personal observation about the RAS exhibits across the board, not just bonsai, the RAS seems to be under pressure to become more commercial. They're giving space away to sales tables rather than exhibiting tables. And I can understand commercial pressure, but with that sort of trend, what do you see the future of bonsai in particular?
I think the horticultural side will still be encouraging TAFE courses to exhibit, to promote flower arranging and so forth. I think the public pressure demands that they keep that and actively try and improve that all the time. No, I don't think that they're quite conscientious that the show is supposed to be a horticultural show as well. Yeah. But I mean, exhibitors, I believe, people selling clothing, it's exorbitant. The cost of the rental of their stand and so forth. Yeah. So. Yes, Robert.
So, just to follow on from John's question, what's the structure then that makes the decision about, how much of how big a part can the bonsai section play? Is it the bonsai as part of the floral system? Or?
Yeah, but we are a very small part of it.
Okay.
We're a very small part of it. I'd say the floral art, so TAFE students doing the floral ranging and TAFE various other courses they've got all to do with floral arranging.
Do producers have a say, like people who produce all the floral?
No,
stock?
so there are, as far as I can see, there are teachers from TAFE that are on the board, right?
Oh, right.
So they then decide on
what's
theme, colour,
Okay.
and so forth. Yes. And I mean, in one time, Bonsai was taught at the TAFE, the cultural TAFE. Yeah. So that. Correct. Yeah. I imagine if something like that was still current, it would be, again, the driving force in there. And this way they've got clubs trying to push it, whereas, the other parts have all got these institution thing behind them.
Any more questions?
Sorry, just first time here. How long have you been judging it? How did you get into it?
Well, I got into it from by Dorothy Korshov. So let me just tell you a little bit about. So Dorothy Korshov established your club. Were you one of the first? So weren't you before? Weren't you here? Weren't you at the club before you then rejoined again?
I was in Bonsai in the late 60s, early 70s, and then I got back to the
Well, yes, and was there a club that you?
I don't know. I went to BSA at
Ah, right. Okay. So Dorothy approached. So when we came to Australia, we moved into Castle Hill, and Dorothy's nursery was there, and it happened to be sort of within walking distance from our place. I had done bonsai briefly just started in South Africa just before we left. So when I came here and I saw the sign there, I couldn't, I couldn't believe it. So it was just meant to be, and I visited the nursery. That would have been in 1997, and Dorothy then started speaking to me about clubs, well, especially about the Bonsai Society, and then inviting me to come over as often as I could, and which I did, and I attended her courses that she gave, because they had the authority from the, what was it, Nippon, just let me get this, where did I put that? So they were the only accredited nursery, and they became the authorized branch of the Nippon Bonsai Art Academy of Tokyo, right? And they opened their nursery in 1965, so this would have probably been in about the 70s that they got the this authorization, and they got information, they got visitors, so it was a very prestigious award for them to actually get. So Dorothy was married to Vita Koroshoff, who was born of white Russian parents, and they came into Australia 1928, I want to say. Yeah, they arrived in 1928. Dorothy and him were married in 1949, and she gave her first bonsai demo on the ABC TV in 1959.
Wow.
Right? So she really was bonsai was everything to her, absolutely everything. She did demos, workshops in Canada, USA, Italy, South Africa, the Netherlands. She has a number of books. Her books are still all around. Publications in most magazines, even Playboy. There was a Canon advert in Playboy. Yes, there was. They had a little mini pine, and that was a little black pine. Yeah, a mini black pine used in the Canon copier's ad. But otherwise, Women's Weekly, Reader's Digest, Daily Telegraph, even a Russian newspaper very early on in the piece. She received the OAM in the year 2000, and that was for horticultural, in particular bonsai. And some of the best Japanese black pines that you see in Australia would have been from seeds that they got in 1951, sent to them by a Japanese friend. So all the big ones that you see in Canberra and that are still around are magnificent Japanese black pine. Yeah. I mean, they developed the black pines, and they would have been perhaps 50 years old, and the Japanese bonsai artists, we would have said they were at least 250 or 300 years old. That's the technique they use to age these trees. Right, so I have got a list which I found on my computer. Member list of your club when it was still the Eastern Districts Bonsai Club on 2001, 2002. I don't know if any names are on here. I don't think so. We had club meetings. So Dorothy approached me and said, the Eastern Districts Club is really battling for members. They're telling me they have to close because there are so few members, and would I help her just to revive the club a little bit? And we were travelling then every month. We came from Castle Hill through to the city, and I mean, well, what have we got there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 people. So we managed to get it going again. That was at Sydney Boys. Yeah, Sydney Boys. Then we went once more. We changed to a little Scout Hall, not far from there. And I was absolutely under the impression I was still going towards the city today. Yeah, big wake up call. Yeah, so she was so happy that the club that they had started, because her and Vita started most clubs in Australia. So she was very happy that your club could get going again. Yeah. So Gary Graham I saw, a few years ago. Does that name mean anything to you? You know, is he still around?
I saw him probably 2 years ago now.
Right.
And he's just the same.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm surprised he's sort of left bonsai. Yeah. Otherwise, that's about the only person I could think that's still around. Well, and Max, of course, he's in Blue Mountains, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I was trying to look up when your club was formed, but there's no company name or anything like that? Do you have any history, any paperwork?
Well, I've tried to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And our record keeping
Yeah.
hasn't been
Right.
up to scratch, you might say. So it's very difficult to get
Yes.
the exact
Yes.
dates of things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's quite right that it's emanated from the East Sydney Bonsai Club.
Yeah. 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 And trying to come up with a name then as well.
Yeah.
Sydney Bonsai was taken already, and then because we were in the city, we thought it was Sydney City, and so that's.
I'd be very interested in that list of names.
Sure,
if,
sure.
If you could provide it to
I can
me.
give you this name, yeah.
What I'll be able to do is contact them all to see if they pay their subs.
Very good, very clever.
Yeah, there's even email addresses, you
Well,
know.
Max is still around.
Max is in the
Very
yeah.
droll on President Day, very droll.
Yeah, no, we would meet in Rose Bay. Yeah, I see. That's the address. Yeah, Nolene was the secretary, and yeah, she was the oldest member, and because of that, we always went to her place, so she didn't have to drive, and yeah, it was very, 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 very nice times. Yeah.
Sorry, were you involved when we were meeting in Waverley, near the cemetery there, at the church?
Your club?
Yeah, city.
No, I didn't know. So do you know what year that was?
I don't know, I went to a few meetings and
It was definitely before 2000 though.
it was before the boys, before we went the boys, high school.
So you say Randwick, was it Randwick Boys time? I thought it was Sydney Boys.
Or Sydney boys, the one on,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
grade? Yeah.
The city boys.
It was Sydney, yeah.
Okay.
No, it was Sydney.
So, yeah.
And then that was for a year or two, and then they had to move, and they found another scout hall. I can record it, but I don't know where it was. But it wasn't far from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a church hall in Alexandria just on the hill.
Do you know what year that was?
No.
No. Yeah. That I think was after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've moved around quite a lot.
In the last 5 years, I think we've had 5 locations.
Okay.
We were in a very good one, which was part of the Sydney Council,
Yes.
and they pulled it down to build a metro station, and so we lost it.
Yeah.
And since then, we've been almost nomads, but we're hoping that we'll be here for a while.
But look at the strength of your club. It's wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, you're definitely doing something right then, Charlie.
Getting good speakers helps.
Right. So. I'll just go because this is in the middle. So when we look at a tree. So we know the tree develops the same as indicated by the roots. What happens at the roots? So was this a particular, whoever's trees, was this a particular style were you going for? Were you going for a flat top style or something?
Light grey.
Yeah. Were you going for a flat top? You just like the...
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. It's like almost seeing one out in the paddock, a big one that's growing there. Yeah. So you've got your main branch there. So if you had that side a little bit longer than that side, you've got it on the right side of the pot, you know. And at this moment, you like it like that. If you feel like changing the design, there's many, many possibilities. Wiring it and getting it into a more open way, because you are going to have to open this up, otherwise it is going to die inside because of the lack of sunlight getting there. But enjoy it as it is at the moment. It's got great potential. So if we looked at that tree, it's still a tree in development. So, you know, that's understandable. So we always want branches from going from thick to thin, from the trunk to the tip, from the each escalation of the trunk as they go up. So you want to have your tree balanced as well, right? You want to get your tree balanced, so you want your apex going above the center of the nabari, which makes the tree balanced, because that's what would happen in nature. It rights itself so that it's not, so it's at its strongest. So you try and adjust your apex to come forward and to be in line of your nabari, and then in the correct position of the pot. On a round pot, it's great. We always have to open up the trees so that they remain healthy on the inside, and this is what makes Fig such a lot of work then, right? So yeah, there's a lot of work on this, but it's a great tree to work with.
It'll be falling tomorrow.
The what, sorry?
If I have a leaf on it tomorrow.
Oh, oh, is it defoliating tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, let it grow out.
Yep, yeah. So, before, people used to say, November 15th, defoliation time. We've moved away from that because we defoliate to distribute energy equally, to get the next flush, which is then smaller leaves. So that's, as I say, we don't just sort of say, every year we've got to defoliate the figs. Not necessarily. Your fig it's a big stress for your figs. So we yeah. So you still establishing the front of this, Chris?
Well, you headed me a couple of years ago with that tree. I had it on the stand back and front.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
2 years ago, the guy disqualified it because it was in root over rock.
Right.
There is a rock in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And he said there was not enough of it showing.
Right.
Now it's not
Is it
root over
completely
rock,
gone?
it's rock in root.
Yeah.
That's got quite a history to
Well,
it. That's why I bought that tree.
Right.
That started off as a little bit of green that was coming out of a fence post down to the south coast. And so I asked the person if I could have it, so I pulled it out, and it was about that much trunk and about that much root.
Oh, yeah.
Gone right down through the fence post.
Right.
So I brought it up, threw it in the back of the car, quickly, got it home and wrapped it around a rock. There's a rock about that big inside that. And then I just left it for about 5 or 6 years. And the base got really big and fat. But then it just grew straight up. And the cows had been doing the bonsai for me, they kept eating the top. So it had a long straight trunk and then this bush sitting on top of it. So I cut it off there and cut it off there, through the middle away. I've got the top as another bonsai, and then that just grew from a stump, probably about that high.
Yeah.
But when it grew, all the growth came out one side of it. So I drilled holes in it and got those young branches and pushed it through the trunk. I pulled them out the other side of the tree, and then just put plasticine and stuff around it. So the branches are actually started on one side and ended up on the other side. But then I let Constantine have a look at it, and those who know Constantine, he said, I can improve this and cut the bloody grafts off.
So you learned how to do grafts then?
I learned not to
yeah.
let Constantine near my trees.
But the most fantastic thing is for a bonsai to have a story, and that's brilliant though, to be able to relate a story.
That is still going. In fact, you can see the graft in the back of it. If I've got time tonight, I'm going to defoliate it tonight because it has to be root.
To get your lower branch thicker there,
Yeah,
you want to redistribute energy.
yeah, yeah.
So- So don't take any leaves off that one.
No, I picked it up to bring it here today and suddenly realised that lower branch is looking really wimpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've got to do something about it.
Yeah, you know, that's it, yeah.
3 weeks ago, that had all leaves that ran up here.
Right.
All that stuff is
Yes,
coming
his
last
eyes,
3 weeks.
he's a new growth,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I didn't bother cutting it off because I knew I was going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's looking really woolly. 3 weeks ago, it looked a different tree.
But you've got such nice bifurcation, at the end, and that's fantastic. But just don't keep foliar.
Yeah, no, it looked
Yeah.
really woolly.
Yeah. And if you can, I mean, try and get your growth
Okay, so.
a bit closer. Well, you'll see when you go to leaves or
Yeah.
what can
Well,
be
that's
done.
what I'd suggest if you've got a fig. Take all your leaves off without cutting any of the branches
Oh, yes,
and have a look at the structure of it and then start hacking.
yes.
And get a crane, that thing is really good.
Well, you put a rock in it just for that extra. But that's, I mean, yeah, you've got a lot of work there, which is what we like. And then the length of your trunk over there, you're going to try and bend that as well.
I don't know, I'll strip it all off and then.
And see. Or even shorten it a bit.
It's been short once.
It's determined to survive. Come what may, eh?
You know, Chris, once is never enough.
Yeah. Someday I'll bring one of my eucalypts in there. If you want something that just does its own thing, that's it. That's eucalypt does.
Yeah.
I've been fighting it for 20 years. And it wins every time.
What a great achievement that you've got it alive still
Yeah.
here. But that alone is fantastic. Yeah. This is a very interesting tree. I actually like it. It's very different. It would need a bit of investigation just to correct the tilts and so forth. But yeah. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to look at, that you wanted to talk about?
Ingrid, it's not my tree.
Yes.
The little fig in the blue pot,
Yes.
I was looking at that and I'd like to see the lower two branches removed.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. This is a bit. That is a bit disturbing. So, a bit of a change of that and that. So that would just mean a slight turn of the trunk, perhaps. You know. Do you know what I mean? Just turning it so it's not full on. It's got a bit of a twist. Yeah, that would do no harm. And I mean, nothing wrong with the bottom ones. They've fastened that up a bit. It's got some taper. But just not looking that full on, just trying to get rid of it in some way once these are off. You know, and then maybe pulling that a bit forward, and that might cover that a little bit. See, like that.
It's like
I mean, that one is also longer. That one's been left to be the first branch because, you know, maybe they had intentions of removing the bottom branch. I don't know, because that's certainly thicker than that one here. Which tree is it?
Deal.
deal.
Excellent. Yeah.
Can I ask the one on the right, the person who grown it, if they've grown it in the ground first to get the aerial root like that?
Well, those are old aerial roots, right? So these are
already developed
long time. Yeah, developed a long time ago. Yeah, and I mean this is just in the stage of development. It just needs to grow up and then shortening again and then letting it grow again, shortening, because really a nice.
So, Ingrid, in your opinion, with a trunk that size and that strong, how big would you see that tree being across when it's fully developed?
Well,
how big would that tree be? The canopy.
Yeah. So, the pity I didn't bring. I've got one similar to this, and it was literally the trunk a little bit bigger, but it would have had a canopy like that. And I've now cut it right back so that the branches are so close to the trunk, just for ease of handling as well. So, but I love it. It actually now showed me a different tree.
So the idea is not necessarily to develop a tree that looks like a miniature of a park.
No, not necessarily.
Okay,
No. But that's really in early stages. The branches really need to thicken. The primary branches are there, but the tertiary ones the secondary need to develop, and then tertiary. But so it's growing out, coming back. But it's a beautiful trunk. Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it?
So my big one like that was a 1980 fig, and it just doesn't stop. But it's so big. What do you do with it? Yeah. Right. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for listening. I hope a few more people are encouraged then to enter. I know that time is terrible, that you have the deadlines and the bringing the trees in.
What people can do, not everyone has to go in there. If you're a bit smart, you can get 2 or 3 people, if you've got 2 or 3 trees, put them all in one car and get someone to take them in, or 2 of you to take them in. Not everyone has to.
That's fantastic to be able to organise something like that. Yeah,
that's $35 or something.
Yep.
You get a free ticket in, which is worth $35 anyway.
Anyway, yes.
In fact, it's worth more than that.
Yep.
Your trees are exhibited. I started exhibiting because there weren't any trees in, and I picked trees that the public would like.
Yep.
Not necessarily trees that are going to win because they're up against them every year.
Yeah.
But it's quite surprising what the public likes.
Yes.
So I picked trees that the public will like, and that's what I believe. And it's a bit of a, bit of a thing to see your tree up there.
Absolutely.
If you win, you get your money back.
And look how many thousands of people view your tree and the pleasure you've given them. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Go to the show.
Yeah.
So,
and you've got a story again for your tree. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is it only for classical bonsai, or can you end up in gin?
1 point. For your $35, you get 1 entry or 50.
As many trees as you want.
Many trees as you want.
Yeah.
It's only one
Yeah.
entry.
One entry
So
fee.
you put 10 trees
Yeah.
in.
And
So
the
could you
answer
enter
your
a
question,
10 gin?
the answer to that question is that there are categories. When you enter the tree,
Yes, yeah.
you look at the categories. You can't add categories, but you can put trees in whatever category.
Yeah. And we've narrowed down the categories for, what's more popular. There were a number of different types of categories previously, which we've really, whittled down and.
Okay.
The other thing is that the entries close around about the end of February.
Okay.
So after next meeting, there is then only one more meeting for us all to get ready.
Yeah.
I have to say, my experience is that it's not the easiest thing to actually enter. You've got to be patient with the website. And last year I wrote a screed on how to enter, how to get through the myriad, because it's a website for all the agricultural products. And you need to be a bit more than intuitive to find your way through it. I'll see if I can dig it out and try it again this year and maybe update it to let people know how to do
Not that I'm
it.
suggesting that I put one in, but it would be interesting to see,
Well, yeah.
you know, what's required.
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
Enlighten me, what other categories, what kind of categories are we looking
Most of them are so previously we would have had formal upright, but there's not many formal upright, so that's done away. So it's informal, slanting, under 40 centimeters, over 40 centimeters, natives, figs, root of a rock,
Cascade, semi-cascade.
cascade, semi-cascade.
Psyche.
That's a new one.
There is a group, groups, group, yeah. I think that would be about it, yeah.
But no PNG.
No pinging. Yeah.
No.
If we get enough interest, you can certainly. No, that's the. No, that's no landscape. More groups or forests. Yeah.
But they have one for
Psyche.
psyche.
They have a psyche. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't checked to see whether it's up yet, but I will, and as soon as I've seen that it's up, I'll let people know.
Okay.
If you're a past exhibit, I'll send it out to you.
Yeah.
Is there a culling process to the exhibition? So, for instance, if you get 500 people coming in, do I put their bonsais in? Are they all displayed, or
They will all be displayed.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there's no
At the
no
moment-
limit. Yeah.
At the moment, I think the problem that the RAS has is getting entries,
Yeah.
not getting too many.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So there's no real requirement as to what
No.
you put in.
No, that's what I said. There's no
And
vetting
there's,
sort of thing. Yeah.
that's what Ingrid was saying before, there's no minimum standard to be passed.
Because
Yeah.
Auburn Council can counsel as noxious weeds.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be very aware
Ah,
that
yes.
you don't
Yeah.
enter a privet in there or, yeah.
Which isn't really fair because the bonsai privets are so well tended.
Yeah, you
are,
don't.
yes.
Yeah.
They're all
But they
tarred
don't
and
believe
sanded.
that one day it'll escape.
Yes. Yeah.
So on dance, say Royal Agricultural Snobs.
Yeah. Look, I think you would all agree with me that Ingrid's experience comes through very, very strongly, and we're very privileged to have had Ingrid come along, especially since she was telling me that she has overseas visitors staying with her, and so even getting away from them for a short time is a bit of a challenge, but we really do appreciate you taking the time to
no,
come.
it's an absolute pleasure. I mean, as I say, I just, have a base, just a few basic details
Yeah.
and
I want the list of
oh, yes, you
old
can have
members.
these. You can have these.
Track them down, John.
Track them
You
down,
can
Yeah,
have
get their
these.
payments, right?
send them an overdue notice.
That's right.
So that was the committee.
Oh, okay.
You can even have that.
Thank you
yeah,
very- yeah.
That's the
I'm
committee.
trying to build up a bit of a history of the club.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Once
You're
more, thank
welcome.
you. As a very small token of our
Oh, my
appreciation, I'd
Thank
like
you.
you to accept that.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
box of imported illegal Japanese black pine seeds.
So I've just got here,
This is some history of the club?
not of the, it just mentions the club here that in 1970, that
Can I get a copy of that?
you can have this one as well. Yeah, just
Okay. I appreciate that.
yeah. You
Thank
can
you.
have that one as well.
Thank you. As I say, I've been trying to put a history of the club as much as I can gather.
Of course, yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, now,
Right.
I hope you like the half a little maple soon.
Yes, I
you
do.
know this?
Yes, I did.
I'll just see Ingrid out and then I'll come back and make a couple of announcements. So what's new? We've had some trees not donated. We've acquired some trees from a guy who has been doing bonsai for about 40 years and eventually gave up. Now when you see his trees, you can probably understand that he gave up. He surprisingly never got any tuition. I asked him if he'd ever joined a club, he hadn't even thought about it. I think the most he'd ever done was read a book. They're the trees next to the piano in that corner. It's not all of them, and I couldn't get them all in the car. But they're all Port Jackson figs. Some of them he claims are 50 years old. They might be. There's another one which I couldn't fit in the car tonight. And I reckon they're certainly 40 years old, so there's a couple of 40 years and the rest taper down to 4 or 5 years at the most. Now, we've done a quick evaluation of them because we don't just give them away, they're worth something than that. So I've done a quick evaluation and put a price on them. But they need work, and so recognising that, if anybody is interested in any of those trees, you don't have to pay the price that's on the tree. You can make a sensible offer, and if it's sensible enough, the tree is yours. Any trees that aren't sold tonight, if anybody is interested in taking custody of the tree, then we'll accept that as well, because they all need a home, they all need work, and so if you want to practice on a fig, it might be an opportunity, and the proviso is that the tree will remain the property of the club until somebody buys it, but you will be the custodian of it until that time.
Or until you kill it.
Or until you kill it, whichever comes first.
Which sometimes happens.
We've also had an offer from a guy called Luke Borrowdale in Mossdale. Luke is a horticulturalist who works in an advanced tree plantation. And he wrote an email to us a couple of weeks ago and said that they're always digging up and dispensing of trees that they don't want. So they're Yamagoras. And being a young horticulturalist, he takes the trees home. And he is prepared to offer them to anybody who's interested. There's a great variety of species: Japanese maple, elms, birch, gingos, conifers, and others. So it's a broad range of species, and he sells them for between $15 and $25. Now, he doesn't say exactly how old they are, but he reckons that if he was selling them in a nursery, they'd be between $100 and $150. And if they're good trees, I could well believe that. If you're interested, let me know and I can give you his contact details. But what might also be a good thing to do, because I think Ollie's had some contact with him. Where's Ollie? Maybe it's worthwhile some of the members getting in a car one weekend and driving down and having a look and picking up any bargains that they want. If you're interested in that sort of thing, let me know that as well. Whatever you prefer.
His details in the newsletter.
Say again?
His details are in the newsletter.
Oh, yes. Ollie did put it in the newsletter. So, by all means, if you want to contact him directly, or let me know if you want to go as a small group. Last meeting I asked who was interested in going to Bonsai World again. I've had a look at some dates, and between now and Christmas is a bit busy. By the way, the nesting nursery visit was very good. For those who went along, I thought it was excellent. And we got a personal tour. We got a personal tour by Ray of his private collection and his oldest tree, which is 150 years old. So that was good. The date that I've tentatively set for the trip to Bonsai World is March the 2nd, after the first meeting next year. We don't have a meeting in January, the first meeting will be early February, and the next date after that they were available is Sunday, March the 2nd. So we've got a couple of months to keep reminding you, but put the date in your diary, and if you would let me know if you're interested so I get a bit of an idea of numbers. So just a quick show of hands, those who are interested in going to Bonsai World, March the 2nd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 25, okay, thank you. The next meeting is December. It's an end of year party. So traditionally what we've done is each person brings some food and drink, and we'll put it on a table in the middle. Please don't bring more food than you could consume, otherwise we'll have the problem of trying to get rid of it. So bring something to eat, but don't bring a huge amount, and any drink that you specifically would like. And the display tree for next month will be something that is suitable for a festive display. Okay? So you can use your imagination. In the past we've had some brilliant, and I mean truly brilliant, things brought in. So it's any tree, but suitable for festive display. You can read into it what you want. Lucky door prizes. We had 31 people tonight, although some have gone. A couple of people had to go early. But and I actually meant to ask Ingrid if she pressed the button on the lucky door prize. So now I've got to find it. Sorry, I'm just looking for my random messages.
Yeah, you need to bring all that. Bring all this. You just want to try and fill the middle. You don't want to cut too much, you see. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think I found.
And it's never been long.
Yeah.
Sorry, this I had it open on the right page.
Yeah, all you